All right, welcome everyone. I think we've got some folks trickling in. My name's Emma Walker and I'm the AIARE Curriculum Manager. I see a lot of familiar names and faces on the list, so welcome and thank you so much for joining us. Really excited to have this webinar that we added just a couple weeks ago, have this kind of extra thing for everybody that we planned so that you can get some experience learning about visualizing terrain and tour planning from Marc Chauvin. Megan Tuig's also joining us, and so we'll hear from Megan in a little bit. So as you all know, this webinar is part of our AIARE CE webinar series. We've had a bunch of webinars already this season, a combination of free and paid webinars. Some are related to navigation and work with AIARE partners. Others are from AIARE instructors and other educators. You can find all of the free webinars on our AIARE YouTube channel. We record them all and put them up within 24 hours. And if you're registered for any of the paid webinars, you'll get a link to view those right away within 24 hours also. And we hold off until the end of the season to share those with everyone else, so those folks who have paid get immediate access. So now that we've got some housekeeping out of the way, I'll go ahead and introduce Marc and Megan. I know Marc is going to give us a presentation, and then we'll have a chance to do some breakout rooms so folks can get some practice. Really excited to check this out and learn a little bit more. I feel like I really need to up my tour planning game. So I'm really selfishly excited to check this out. I do ask that folks keep your mics muted, and I think we should be okay with cameras on, but if you find that you're having a bit of that things are slow, sometimes it does help to turn your camera off. And then of course there will be time for questions at the end, and during those breakout rooms, by all means, turn on your cameras and unmute your mics, but we'll just ask that folks keep those off while Marc is presenting. If you have questions, you can drop those in the chat at any time. Megan and I will both be monitoring that. If you have I was just telling Megan and Marc that my dog is going to do, it's like the moment I'm on a call, she's like, let me find my noisiest toy and like push it across the hardwood floors. So go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. If you have questions about CalTopo specifically, Megan can answer those, and I of course can answer AIARE related questions. I think that's about everything. This is being recorded, so just so everybody is aware. I think that's it. With that, Marc, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Well, actually, I'm going to start it off. And thanks for having us, Emma. And we're really excited to be here and be presenting visualizing terrain and tour planning. A little bit of background. Let's get this guy going on who we are. So Marc Chauvin is actually going to be pretty much running the show. I'm just going to talk real briefly in the beginning. But Marc is a IFMGA guide, AIARE educator, as well as part of the CalTopo team. My name's Megan Tuig. I'll be in the chat just so you have like a face with the name. But I do kind of a wide variety of things for CalTopo, everything from training to partnerships to even some marketing kind of stuff. So just so you know who we are. And I just want to talk really briefly about the AIARE CalTopo partnership. So CalTopo, we're really proud to partner with AIARE and support the important work that they do. And as part of that partnership, we do offer all current AIARE avalanche educators a free 1-year pro account. So if you don't have that set up already, there's a URL up there. So you can just head to caltopo.com/join/account request. And all you do is just submit your current AIARE membership card and we'll get you all set up. We also offer all AIARE students a free 90-day mobile subscription trial. So we actually upped it from 30 to 90 days to give students more time to explore the mobile features. One thing I want to note here is there's no credit card required to redeem that trial. So it really gives students the opportunity to try it out. And the reason we go with a mobile trial is because one of the really powerful features of CalTopo is the ability to easily collaborate. So it allows students to all work on the same map together, build that tour plan. And then with the mobile subscription, they can download offline layers to their mobile app and then bring their map into the backcountry with them. And they can view it, they can update it. And then when they get back to, back out of the backcountry, they can see those edits on their computer. So kind of allows for that seamless integration. So just a couple things about trials. In the beginning of the season, AIARE sent an email to all providers with a unique trial link. If you didn't see that email, missed it somehow, that trial link is also available in the provider dashboard on avtraining.org under the provider resources. So you can see an example of a link right there on the slide. Now, each of these links has enough redemptions to cover all of a provider's courses. So all a provider needs to do is give that link to their instructors and they can give it out to students. We try to make it really simple. We also created a landing page that helps students get set up with their trial. So that's caltopo.com/AIARE. And it just walks them through how to redeem the trial, as well as how to download layers, kind of that basic stuff, so they can get set up with it pretty easily. If you do need more codes, we gave the AIARE staff a bunch of extra ones, so you can just reach out to them and they can get you some more codes if you do use up all your redemptions. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark and let him actually get into the good stuff. So Mark, all you.
Thanks, Megan. Hi, everyone. I looked through the list. I recognized a few names. So how's it going? Looking forward to this. The objectives, like for tonight, is to get you to build tour plans as a group. So we're going to have you go through the entire process of the checking conditions and forecasts, looking at the terrain from a virtual perspective, and then really hone in on the collaboration part of CalTopo so that you can work in small teams to create a tour plan. That's going to be a big part, is this idea of collaboration. Our goal is to show you how you can use CalTopo with your students and collaborate so that they can collaborate and actually build the plan rather than just be handed a plan and then go through it and be told, like, this is what you should do. We're going to use our powerful tools of time estimation and our tour plan, which will create a PDF and give you a classic tour plan. So that's our goals for tonight. If we do this right, you won't hear that much talking. It'll be almost a 2-to-1 ratio between me talking and you all doing work. So I'm going to be sharing my screen here, and I'm going to go right to a map. And so you should all be seeing a map at this point. And what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to create a tour plan at Jones Pass in Colorado. And then you all will be going into breakout rooms, working together to create tour plans at Berthoud Pass. So I'm open to my home area here on Mount Washington. So I need to navigate to Jones Pass. So what I'm going to do is in the search bar, I'm just going to put Jones Pass, Colorado, and hit enter. And that'll bring me right to Jones Pass. Now, what I'm going to be trying to do here is go through my workflow of creating a tour plan. Now, I've never been to Jones Pass, so I need to get some information. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get weather and avalanche forecast information, and I'm going to try to visualize the terrain a little bit. So to get a weather forecast, what I'm going to do is go over here to measure and click NOAA forecast. That's going to change my cursor to a crosshairs. And I'm just going to pick like the bottom of this drainage here and click that. And that pulls up a spot forecast for that area from the National Weather Service. Read through that, get the information that I need. So that's measure NOAA forecast. The next thing I'm going to do is get the avalanche forecast. And I can do all this right from CalTopo. So right here, I'm moving my cursor around. I'm going to click avalanche. That zooms out a little bit and it brings in, because we're in Colorado, the CAIC zone forecast. And this is the zone we're going to be working in. I click that and then click get the forecast. That'll open up a new tab with the CAIC site. There it goes. Took a minute to load, sorry. And this is the avalanche forecast. So in classic Colorado snowpack, we've got a persistent slab almost all around the compass, and then a wind slab on the northeast slopes. I'm not going to go deep into the avalanche forecast, but this is a way to get your avalanche forecast. Our tour plan will take into consideration the avalanche forecast. So now that I've gotten the avalanche forecast, I'm going to unclick the avalanche just to clear up my map a little bit. I'm going to go back up to my search bar and click Jones Pass again, just to zoom in, make my life a little bit easier. So I just kept Jones Pass in the search bar, so that way I can just zoom in as I need. Now, one thing, being from the Northeast, wind is a big thing for me. So I always take a look at the wind plot here that we're going to take care of, or take a look at next. But given that wind slab is a problem, it's nice to know wind speed and direction, a forecast for that, and a visualization. So I'm going to go over here to this right bar, this right sidebar, under forecasts, and I'm going to click wind plot. Now that'll give me two drop-down boxes. One with the word speed, I could get speed or gusts. I just want the average speed. And then the time at which I want it. So if I'm doing this for tomorrow, I'm going to go, you can go 12 or 18 hours, or if you're doing it the morning before, 24 hours. So I'm going to click 18. And what that will do is put some icons on my map. Now, to read the icons, the first thing I want to draw your attention to is this bottom bar here. And the colors give you the miles per hour. So green is 10, yellow 20. You can read on from there. The icons themselves, when I zoom in on them, the best way for me to describe them is they kind of look like little comets. So the tail is where they're sort of have came from, and the head is where they're going. So this is a west to east wind pattern of about 10 miles per hour is what we're expecting for tomorrow morning. So at this point, I've gotten my NOAA point forecast. I've gotten my avalanche forecast. I've gotten a good visualization of the wind. And now what I really would like is snow depths, is kind of what I'm after next. Over here, I'm going to click in real-time data, weather stations. Now, at the pro level that you all will have or have, this will be active. At the mobile level, your students won't have this, but you'll be able to show them this and give them some of the information. Now, when I click weather station, here it defaults to temperature, but what I really want is snowpack. So I want to pull out the weather stations that give me snowpack information. At this point, I'm going to start to zoom out by using the minus button here up in the upper left-hand corner. And I'm going to zoom out quite a bit. Colorado has quite a few remote weather stations or automated weather stations. And there's one here on the west side of Jones Pass, and there's one over here at Berthoud Pass. And because I have snowpack, you'll see 46 inches of snowpack is being measured and the SWE is 4.1. So what I'm going to do is click on the berthed pass one. That's going to be where you're going to be doing most of your work. And I'll up here click show chart. And what this does is gives me a chart that I can scroll through, and you can see the snowpack data has gaps in it, but I can scroll through this and by date see what the snowpack height was. So 39 inches, let's see, 39 inches, 41 inches on the 15th, and then it stayed pretty much like that. Then it started to bump up on the 18th and to our current level of 46 inches. Over here on the west side of Jones Pass, so it's on the west side of this crest, is 41 inches. So I'm going to expect 41 to 46 inches of snowpack as a general rule in my area. So that's weather stations, and then the drop down is snowpack. I'm going to unclick that, and I'm going to unclick my weather plot. And now what I want to take a look at is I want to get a sense of slope angle in this area. I can start looking at contour lines and things of that nature, but it's really nice to get a visual of slope angle. And that way I just get a better feel for the terrain. So I'm a big fan of the fixed slope angle shading. There's also gradient. I have a little harder time reading gradient, but that's stylistic. That's up to you. We have both. And then at the bottom, again, we have a key for, in this time, it's slope angle rather than wind speed. 27 to 29 is yellow. Then it goes to a light orange, darker orange. And so from 30 on, which our avalanche forecast said, best to stay out from 30 degrees up, given the persistent weak layer, I've got a good visualization of the terrain. So this starts getting me oriented by conditions, the weather, the avalanche forecast, weather and avalanche forecast, wind speed and direction, snowpack depth, at least nearest neighbor snowpack depth. At this point, I'm ready to get started kind of thinking about creating a tour and getting a map saved and being able to share that map. So my first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a marker at the parking area. I'm going to hit this add button here and click marker. That puts this red dot on my map and creates this dialog box. I'm going to move this marker from previous, I looked at blogs and checked some things out. That seems to be where the parking area is. And I'm just going to label that parking. At this point, I am going to click OK. And that will put the marker up here. And automatically, because this is the first thing I've done to this, I am asked, do I want to save this map? And I'm going to save it. I'm going to call this Jones Tour. And click save. So now I've saved this to my account. And there we go, all saved, and it homes in on that waypoint or that marker. From here on in, I won't have to save the map. The map, as I add and subtract things, the map will automatically save. Now what I want to do is create a situation where I can share this map and other people can add things to it. So to do that, once the map is saved, I'm going to come over here to the information button and click that button. And down at the bottom, create a shareable link. And I'm going to click that. A box will open, and inside that box is a drop down. And I'll click the drop down. And we have 3 access types. Read only, which is pretty descriptive. In other words, if you create a read-only map, anybody you give that link to can only see the map. They can't add anything to it. They can't subtract anything to it. They can just look at it. The next access level is update. An update map allows people to add things to that map, and they can only delete things that they have added. In other words, they can't touch anything you've added to the map or anybody else has added to the map. They can only add and delete things that they've added. And then finally, we have write permission, which is full ownership. They can add and delete anything that has been placed on the map. This point, I'm going to create a write permission link, and that link is here, and there's a little copy button. It doesn't give you feedback that it's been copied, but it has been, and then you can drop it into an email or a text or anything, and then when people go to that, they'll have full write permission for this map. So that's our first demo, which is getting the information about the area, weather forecast, avalanche forecast, wind speed and direction, snow depth, then save a map, put a dot at the parking area, and then create a shareable link over here. Now everybody should be seeing the slide. We're going to break you up into breakout rooms. We want you to navigate to Berthoud Pass and just collect information about the terrain and the forecasted conditions. Then one person in the breakout room will save a map and share the right link with everybody else in that breakout room so we can create a tour after our second demo. So you'll have 15 minutes to do this. We'll get you set up. Emma will get you all set up into breakout rooms. And Megan and I will be around to answer questions and get a feel for Berthoud Pass.
Okay.
Awesome. So hopefully that worked for everybody, getting into a breakout room and just getting your kind of self-oriented to Berthoud Pass, get the avalanche forecast and weather forecast, share a map and do that. So we're ready to go to the next level, which is actually sort of roughing out a tour and getting an idea of how long it's going to take and that kind of thing. So I'm going to go back to sharing a screen or sharing screens. And everybody should be seeing the map again. And I'm having a hard time here. There we go. That works. And I'm back on the same map that I was on before, which is that saved map with the parking area is the only thing I have on it. I'm just getting rid of toolbars so I can see my map a little better. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up another base layer. So over here on the right, underneath Map Builder Topo, I'm going to click Stack Base Layer, and I'm going to put Global Imagery. And this is a satellite imagery, and this is actually downloadable. In other words, you can see this offline on your mobile device. And so it's a great one to use on your desktop as well, or on your laptop, I should say, aging myself. And what this does is just gives me an idea of the thickness of the trees and things like that. As I move through the terrain, I get a better idea of what things look like. So I like to have that stacked with my opacity at 0, and then I just slide the opacity as needed. Now, the next thing I like to do is similar to having the idea of a closed runs. There's in a lot of operations, and to some extent within the AIARE curriculum, there's this idea of having a run list for your local area and then closing off certain runs based on conditions. And then, you know, you have open and closed runs. I've never been to Jones Pass. I have no run list here. And so I like to think of it as I'm going to close terrain. And I'm going to use the avalanche and weather forecast, as well as like the wind and things like that, to sort of choose what kind of terrain I'm going to close. And then I'm going to actually color it, and I'm going to color it red, because that's how you color closed terrain or closed ski runs. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to come over here to my add button, and I'm going to add. And I'm going to come down here to custom layers, DEM shading. And I'm going to click that. And that opens this box. So I'm going to click slope. And in the avalanche forecast, they said, stay off of slopes over 30 degrees. I'm good with that. So I'm going to go from 30, because this is the area I want to close. And I could go to 90. I'm going to go to 60 degrees. And then it's almost all around the compass. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you could just go around the compass, but I'm going to just show you the power of this. And I'm going to go by the aspect that they show where that persistent layer is, just so you can see how aspect works. And I'm going to click on the starting aspect, and I'm just scrolling through. I've got my trackpad and I'm just like scrolling through, and I'm going to start at 290. I got to go a little further. So sort of northwest. And the way this works is you always go clockwise. And so I'm going to go all the way to sort of southwest at 205, which is, if you look at where the persistent layer is on your avalanche forecast, it's sort of that part of the compass. Like I said, with this forecast, I'd probably just go all around the compass, but I wanted to show you how to set that up. Then I'm going to choose my elevation band. Now, I know the parking lot is a little bit above 9,000 feet. So I'm just going to go from 9,000 feet, and then summits are a little over 14. So I'm just going to go to 15,000 feet. So I got from parking lot to whatever summit I may or may not want to go to. So I've got all 3 boxes clicked, and I've got my rules within those boxes. I've picked, the color is red, so I could just pick a color here. So I'm going to keep it red. And now this is important. I'm going to click add rule. Now, the reason why we have add rule is because you can make multiple rules. Like I could make certain slopes blue and I could make other slopes orange. So I'm going to use just one rule for my closed terrain. So this is my closed terrain. And now I'm going to click save. And that will colorize all the terrain that meets that criteria. So 30 to 60 degrees, most of the way around the compass between 9,000 and 15,000 feet. Awesome. So now I have a really good visual of what is going on with my terrain. Just getting my notes set up here, sorry. Now what we're going to do is draw our line. Now this may take you a little bit of a while because you're going to be working together all kind of on the same maps from different computers, but just work it out. You'll figure it out. One person can start the line and then other people can start tweaking it. So I'm going to click add line. And the first thing you'll notice is all the trails and roads are highlighted. And you'll see that this snap to box is also all of a sudden popped up. If you click the drop down, you can see you can snap to some different things. In that PDF, we've got links to explain all these things. OpenStreetMap is what OSM stands for. And that is all the roads and trails that are on our map builder layer. So I'm going to use that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, from the parking area, I'm just going to highlight that road and I'm going to click on it and then just go to the end of the road. And you can see how the line just follows, boom, snaps to, click. And now from here, I'm just going to click and drag. So I'm going to click, I'm going to go up this drainage. I'm going to go up through here, a little bit of trees. I can always check that out later. Up here onto this bench, come up around here. I'm just clicking and dragging. And I'll ski down and I'm just roughing out the tour here. And then I'll come up here, come up this south-southwest facing slope, get to the high point. Hopefully there's some good snow here. It is January. Come back down the drainage. And I'm just roughing this out right now. And I'm going to come to the road so that it highlights. Click on it, go back down to the parking. Double click and end my line. So this is my roughed out tour. Now, when I double clicked, I think I made a mistake. Yeah, I kind of got back onto this road here, Colorado 207. And so I want to cut that off. So I'm just going to show you one of our features, and you can delve into this more if you'd like. I'm going to click the line right where I want to cut it off, right near the parking. And I'm going to click modify. Now, there's a bunch of things. You can extend lines, you can reverse their direction, you can join two lines, but I'm going to split the line. And I'll click OK. Now, I want to get rid of that. If you notice when I highlight it, it kind of highlights, right? but I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to delete like my good line. So what I'm going to do is just click that, hit edit. So let me do that again. I'm going to click it, hit edit, and I'm just going to click on the color and just quickly change the color. So I make sure, oh, I've clicked, this is the part I want to erase, and I'll just delete it. So now I've got my line. And it's a rough draft of where I want to go. What I want to do at this point is maybe move it around. I didn't quite hit the bench very good here, right? So I'm going to click the line anywhere and click edit, and you'll get all these vertices. So I'm just going to shift the vertices to put the line sort of where I want it to go. And I'll just, if you ever watch me in my workflow, I am a meticulous line editor. Like I go around every corner. It's like as if I'm building a skin track, and I'm trying to get around every little thing. So I can spend a lot of time doing this. But you can see I'm just shifting it around to just get my line kind of where I want. And I can create zigzags, like I'll just show that here, like come up here, come up, head here, and then it starts getting steeper. So I'll just do a couple of zigzags in my line, because I'll probably do some turns, hopefully no kick turns, but we'll see if I can avoid those when I'm there. And just get up on. And what that does is it just gives me a little bit more accurate distance. And I just tweak my line. I'll label it Jones Tour. Click OK. And now I have a pretty good, it's not to my standard, but I don't want to work another 10 minutes on tweaking my line, but I have a pretty good roughed out tour. Now, I may have done this before I roughed it out. I've been playing with this area, so I know the length, but before I started editing it too much, one of the things you might want to do is just check, like, is this an appropriate amount of travel time for your group if you're doing this as a group? And so I'm going to just click the line again. I'm sorry, I did that quick. Click the line, hit travel time, and you'll see it gives us travel time based on off-trail ski and hike. So my ski time is 4.5 hours. This is all based on standard Munter rates. So like 4 up, 6 for flats, and 10 for down for ski. The other thing I can do is I can hit a profile. And now I can see the distance here. And I can see my gross. So the distance is just right around 7 miles. And I'm going up about 2,500 feet and losing 2,500 feet. When you're in your breakout rooms, it might be best to rough it out, get your time and your profile before you start editing, because you may want to edit to shorter. I sort of did it in opposite. Again, we'll be visiting the breakout rooms, and we'll give you some help, and you can always hit us up on the chat, and one of us will enter the breakout room.
Okay, awesome. I will go ahead and open those back up. And Mark, how long do you want us in breakout rooms this time?
So I believe this is another 15 minutes, if that's correct. Megan, you keeping an eye on that?
This one's got 20, and there's a
20
slide
minutes.
with
Perfect.
some And you've got a slide with some criteria.
Yes. Oh, right. Thank you. I'm like so focused.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open those back up and set a timer.
Yeah, let me just share my screen one more second because
Okay,
I
great.
want to like set something up here. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. So your tour should be about 4 miles long, 2,000 feet of elevation gain, 3 hours in length, somewhere in that area. And it's from the east ridge of Russell Peak. So that's right above the main parking area, right at Berthoud Pass. All the way, there's a hut at the top of Current Creek. So that whole area. And you can plan your tour such that you can utilize the parking area at the base of Current and Second Creek, including using car shuttles. In other words, you don't have to make a circle tour. You can start at one parking area and go to another. That way you have a big area of Berthoud Pass to work with. Sorry, I didn't mention that before.
Awesome. I think folks will lose the ability to see your slide. So Mark, do you mind just putting it back up for 1 sec so folks can take a quick screenshot before they
Sure.
go out to their breakout rooms?
Sure. Good idea.
I just know that I personally cannot keep track of directions without looking at them for that long.
There you go, full screen.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna open these up. So you should all be being invited to join your breakout rooms now. So once you've got your screenshot, go ahead and jump in there. And we're gonna actually do 15 minutes instead of 20. So I just set a timer and I will see you back here in 15 minutes.
One thing I didn't mention is if one person builds a custom layer like the DEM shading, the no-go terrain, the closed terrain, if one person builds that, right, it's on the map, but you don't all have to be looking at it. It forms a little box on the right that you can then toggle. So I noticed in some of the breakout rooms, everybody created one. One person can, and then you can see it or not see it. Like it's not permanently on the map. You can toggle it. It's in that right box. It's under custom layers, kind of by where the forecast is. All right, we're gonna wrap this up, kind of finish this out a little bit. I'm sharing my screen right now. Getting rid of this sidebar. And what I've done is kind of created a buffed out line here of that tour that I was, that I built. And what we're going to do now is break this up into legs and get a tour plan. So let me give you an idea of how this works. You've got your line and you can add a marker. And I'm going to come up a little closer here. And I'm just going to write start of the first steep climb. And click OK. So add marker, click OK. Then I'm going to go to the top of my line and I'm going to go add marker. And I'm just going to write top. I'll make it nice and straightforward. You don't need to watch me type. And I'm going to keep doing that for the legs that I want. Now, I pre-built my legs so you can get an idea because I wanted to show you the power of this. So you notice right at the end of the road, I have end and start of the road. That's going to get picked up in both directions. You'll see what I mean by that in a minute. Then the start of the first steep climb. And what I have there, and I'll just put it in edit so you can see my text box here, is a little note to myself. Watch for instability signs. We need to be careful about how high we go. The next waypoint may be too close to the upper slope, right? So you see that. That's in this. At the top of the climb, I'll edit that too. Check the slope across the valley to preview that, our second run, right, on my tour. And I have this thing where it just says 20 minutes. You'll see how that plays out. Click OK. So now I've put all my waypoints in with my notes and everything along those lines. Now, the next thing I want to do is under settings here, click settings and make sure show labels is clicked to all. So I've laid out my legs. I've put my notes in and I've got all the labels showing. At this point, with the level of subscription that you all have, the pro level, your students don't have this feature, but you can do this for them on the collaborative map. You'll have this feature. I'm going to click my line. I'm going to go to travel time. And I'm going to go to travel plan. And this travel plan breaks it up into legs with my notes on the right. So from the start to the end of the road takes 46 minutes. Now, right now, I'm in a hiking travel mode. So I'm going to customize that. Being an Easterner, going up in Colorado, I'll probably go up at a 4, flat at 6. But I ski down faster than a 6. 10 is standard. I like to go to 12 is sort of what I find. So I'm going to adjust my munter rate and make it at 12. So from the end of the road to the start, or from the start to the end of the road, 46 minutes. But you can see from the top of the second run, right? All the way down to the end of the road, right? I got that 15 minute, I'm going to go 37 minutes plus 17 minutes. So it'd be 53 minutes from the top of the second run down. But what you'll notice is all these red rows. And you'll notice it says break. And so when you put 20 minutes in the break, it just adds a row and adds 20 minutes to your total time. So you can adjust for transitions and discussions and things of that nature and get a good, accurate final time, right? So at the top of the second run, I have a 15-minute break, not much discussion, but I do have to strip skins. So I'm putting my waypoints in. Where I'm going to take a break, I'm going to add those minutes. I click on the line, travel time, travel plan. Then I go to print the plan. And seeing it's going to be tomorrow that I'm going to ski in Jones Pass, which isn't true, but I'll pretend. I'm going to copy tomorrow's forecast. Go to where I printed, and I'm just going to paste that in. Then I can type whatever I want here, or I can put the, the synopsis of the avalanche hazard in there. And then I'm going to click print. And PDF, save as a PDF. It's going to ask me to save on my computer. I'll put it in my downloads. I'll replace it because I've been practicing. Click my downloads. And I know I'm not sharing this. I'll stop sharing, and then I'm going to screen share again, and I'll screen share the PDF. Anyway, I screen shared the same thing again, but I have a PDF of this, and then you can share that PDF either electronically with your students. You can print it, put it in the notebook. You can carry it the way you'd like. So custom, that gives you the times. So travel time, travel plan.
Mark, there was a question, maybe you could address it for the group, just about
Sure.
what the values represent. So you had set the custom rate. If you could just talk a little bit more just about those values there. what
Okay.
they represent.
So the Munter rate is a, so I guess the question is about the Munter rate. So I'll do a quick and dirty Munter rate clinic. The Munter rate is a metric system. You take your distance you travel in kilometers, your height in meters. So every kilometer is 1 point, every 100 meters is another point. So let's say you do 3 kilometers and 300 meters. You have 6 points. If you travel at a 6 Munter rate, that will take 1 hour. If you travel at a 3 Munter rate, that'll take 2 hours. So what CalTopo does is just does all the math for you. And the Munter rate is getting to be a pretty standard system. I believe it's may not be officially in the AIARE curriculum, but I think it's mentioned in some places. I know a lot of AIARE instructors use it. So it's a very common time estimation methodology. Does that answer the question?
Yep, sounds like it does. And I think with the last, if Emma's okay with us taking a minute or two, we could just do a quick Q&A if there are some questions, because there are some questions coming up in the chat. But I think if people wanted to unmute themselves and ask Mark, we could take like 1 or 2 questions, and if more come up, we can address them by email later.
Anybody going to open their mic?
Yeah, Mark, this Kirk, Mark, I might have missed something, but on those direction of travel arrows, how did you put those on your line?
Okay, so when you click edit the line, you'll see a little line. You can click on that and it gives you all sorts of line types. I just put arrows on it. It's such standard workflow. I don't mean it to be confusing, but in that edit box, if you click the line, you'll see that you have the ability to put arrows.
Yeah, that functionality in CalTopo is a little unique in the sense that if you choose like a marker, it shows a standard default like dot. But if you click on the dot, then it gives you lots of other choices. It's the same line. So, but it's not a box or a toggle. You just have to know that you can click on that item and then get more options.
More options. In the PDF, you'll see that there's a lot of links to our user guide. That user guide is a wealth of knowledge. Like, it's really good. And I wanted to give you a good like tour planning. You all can continue tour planning on your shared maps with your group. We're pretty much out of time as far as this is all concerned. The thing that's important to understand is this map now, when it's opened on your mobile device, lives on your mobile device, and your students will have the ability to download the map squares so that this is all available offline on your phone. So you can work on your computer and it syncs to your phone quite easily.
Yeah, I'll drop that companion document again with the links that Mark is talking about in the chat too. So you'll see it there. So if
We'll
anybody
also
wants to-
include that, the companion document when I send out the follow-up email with this recording.
Great.
Yeah, Pearson, go ahead.
This has been excellent, and I've used CalTopo going back a long time. Help me understand the advantages and disadvantages of, let's say, CalTopo versus OnX. I mean, obviously, CalTopo has been around for a long time, and it's a very established platform. And I'm sure, like anything, there are pluses and minuses for other platforms.
Do you want to take that, Megan, or do you want me to?
Let's hear from you, especially as an educator and an IFMGA guide. I think it'd be great to hear your perspective.
So I've been using CalTopo for a long time, and I got a job there, but I've been using it for a long time. I really like it. The big thing for me is this ability to collaborate is so seamless. And that comes from a history of search and rescue. CalTopo was started for search and rescue teams to organize search and rescue teams. So one of the most robust parts of this is collaboration, and we've just begun to scratch the surface of collaboration. If somebody has this map and they're tracking themselves on cell service and you're on cell service, you can see where they are. So if there's cell service, let's say in your tour, and you have two groups, you can actually watch the other person tracking as you're tracking, and they can watch you. Like, the collaboration is amazing. And I think that's one of its strongest things. There's a lot of features that are also good at the, geographic information level, like, for more professional GIS people, that is really useful. It's a very powerful tool, but collaboration for this group is probably its signature thing. Our map builder topo, I believe, is one of the best maps for the United States, and it extends around the world as well. I think it's really pretty, and I'm into maps.
Yeah, I would just add to that. I mean, Mark kind of touched on just the power of the platform, because a big thing with CalTopo is high quality data sources and making them accessible, to everybody. I think, platforms like Onyx, an advantage of that is it's just simpler to use, like the UI, because it has less features. So there's a trade-off there. And I think you have to kind of weigh, the cost that, like you were saying, Pearson, there's benefits and drawbacks to each platform. But I think for the reasons Mark said, that's some of the power that CalTopo does offer.
Any plans to do 3D?
I'll let you take that one, Megan.
I mean, you already gave it away.
Yeah, but
3D is on our roadmap. We're making some big backend changes right now. And I think one thing that I'm super excited about personally is we're doing a ton of work right now to improve just the mobile app performance. And those backend changes will also lend themselves to other features like 3D, as well as, north up in terms of the mobile app and navigation and stuff like that. So there's some stuff like that coming down the pipeline that I think will both be like user facing features like 3D, but also just better performance and stuff like that.
Yeah, Lee, go ahead.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm in the Denver snowstorm and had to do my drive. I was slightly late, and so maybe my question that I typed in the chat got slightly misinterpreted. I just didn't get to be in that present. But what I was wondering is, for example, we've got all these modes of travel on foot or mechanized, and maybe I just missed. I realize there's no mechanized thing in the Munther method, but in CalTopo, for example, like OnX has OnX like off-road for vehicles. OnX has OnX for feet. Like, for example, was there a feature inside CalTopo, or could there be, like when you're planning on foot, you basically go in a line, you go up and down a few times. But in things, especially snowmobiling or even sled skiing, you have different regions. So instead of a default draw, maybe you could draw zones and group the zones. Say, hey, we're going to stay off these groups of complex terrain. If people are using 8s, is there a way to group those zones? Just like I know you can draw the shapes. You can shape. I've done that plenty and used it, but a way to group it and the default way to define like a snowboarder says, hey, we're not going to this region or these valleys, these sides of these valleys, to group shapes as opposed to lines, which is what foot travelers usually use. Or was that just too complicated? I'm sorry.
You want that one, Megan? You get on a machine way more than I do.
If I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like what you're looking for is to like make a series of polygons.
Yeah, and that
is that like correct? Like, just to make sure I'm
Yeah.
understanding your question correctly.
Well, yeah, and have that be the default. If you're planning a snowmobile trip, for example, instead of default just drawing lines, just drawing shapes and grouping those shapes. Like here, hey, we're gonna route these groups of complex terrain, or here's our groups of areas that are simple terrain, and then
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options that you could use, and really it'll depend on what your end goal is. I mean, without getting too far down the rabbit hole, it could be something as simple as making a series of polygons that are in a folder that you're able, if you share that map out for people to start with, they'd have those polygons in a folder grouped together, and they can change the visibility of that folder. So display those polygons and then hide them as needed. And that's why an advantage of putting objects in a folder is you can set the visibility to be hidden until someone needs it. And you could also get as complicated depending on where you're getting your data from or how you're hosting it. You can make some custom layers. Mark gave an example today of the DEM shading custom layer, which uses data already available in CalTopo. But there's some other ones where you can bring in outside data sources, such as WMS or Mapbox layers and stuff like that. So you could also potentially make a custom layer with it. That could also be an option too. So there's a couple different ways, and that is one of like the powers of CalTopo, is to be able to answer different questions with the tools that are available.
Great, thanks. I'd forgotten about layers. I just hadn't, that's cool. Thanks very much.
Yeah, definitely check out the user guide too, to, depending on what data you've got available and where it is, that can be helpful.
Awesome. Thank you both. That is great. Hey, of course, now is when my dogs also are going to start talking now that I've unmuted. I just dropped a link to a feedback form in the chat. And I'm also going to go ahead and share my screen in case you prefer to just use this QR code with your mobile device. Before you drop off for the evening, we would love to have you fill out this super quick feedback form. We try really hard to create CE opportunities that are what our instructors actually want and what's useful to you all. And that's one of the reasons that we ended up with this presentation, which I really enjoyed and thought was awesome, how interactive and engaging this was, Mark and Megan. So thank you. But yeah, folks, please, if you don't mind taking just a second to fill this out, that helps me do my job next year as I'm planning out your CE opportunities so that we can get you information that's useful to you. With that, I'll mute and turn my camera back off, but Mark and Megan, thank you so much. That was awesome. And it's really cool to see, I feel like even for these things that we all use all the time, it's really cool to see the way that you can, like, the power of these tools and what we can do with them. So thank you so much for taking the time. And folks, thank you all for joining us. Really glad to have you all here. And hopefully we'll see you at one of our upcoming webinars. We've got a panel that I'm hosting next week, and then another on February 14th. I know you all know how to find out what our upcoming webinars are and how to register for them. So I won't bore you with my PowerPoint slide. So thank you so much again. Have a great night all.